Hey guys, I'm Karthikeyan and welcome to my channel. So this is the first proper lecture video here where I'm sharing everything I have learned in my 20s, turning my professional experience into free learning resource for anyone who wants to grow in quality, leadership, personal development, whatever. This place is for you. And in today's video, we are going to explore a very interesting topic called a rapid root cause investigation. So most of us know root cause analysis as just doing 5 whys, right? Let's be honest, because in initial days I thought root cause analysis is all about 5 why and 1 how. But rapid root cause investigation is much more a structured, a wider approach designed to help organizations understand not just what went wrong, but why went wrong and how to stop it from happening again. It's a very structured approach. Uh, it took me 3 to 6 months to study everything in detail, understand how it works. But here I am giving you the free resource of rapid root cause investigation. Whatever domain you are, quality, engineering, life science, biotechnology, biomedical, any space where you use root cause analysis, this video is for you. So this is part 1, sort and seek, and I have split the topic into 2 parts to keep it short and practical. Check out the channel for part 2, which involves solve and sustain. Once you are done here, I will share the video of the part 2. So moving on to the important one, investigation life cycle. So before we jump into how, let's understand the life cycle of an investigation. So every event starts with something unusual, right? An occurring event. This event usually triggers that someone reports. That's when we take immediate action. Now those immediate action can range from something simple like a quick fix, a easy win, to something major like a full-scale corrective investigation. So that's where we ask questions like criticality, escalation, scope, and extent, trending. Does it affected the product safety? So we ask all this question to write the problem statement. From there, we jump into an important question called: do we know the root cause and the contributing factor? So we come up with two answers like yes and no. If we have yes, we will have a different sort of life cycle investigation, but if we have an answer which is no, we'll jump into a different way of life cycle investigation, because any investigation will involve human resource, time spent, money spent, and a reputation of the brand. So we need to make everything easier but in a quickest way. So we will see what if the answer is yes. If yes, we will perform a full root cause investigations with the factors known, and we'll check out the recurrence, impact, risk, review the criticality, and we'll design the kappa. But if we don't know the root causes, we'll focus on the very famous and prominent tools like chronology timelines, 5 whys, Ishikawa, fishbone diagram. We're gonna see every tools very detailed in this video. And finally, once the causes are confirmed, we perform the risk assessment as I said before, and then we assign the kappa, we do the documentation and reporting. So this is the complete life cycle investigation. So before jumping into any root cause investigation, make sure to ask the questions to yourself like, what's the criticality? Can we do a quick win, or is the root causes known so we can finish off the kappa soon? Make sure to have the root cause quick, easy, and surest. So as I said, there are certain general rule of thumb. In any domain you need to follow a certain rule of thumb, and these are all the basic things in any domain they will follow. So the first is whether it is a GXP or a non-GXP investigation. Every organization must follow its quality manual, standard operating procedure, and a good documentation procedure. But here are the universal grounds, like you need to have a good cross-functional team. In an effect, like it need to include people from all stages of the process, because one perspective alone cannot see the full picture. It never happens, trust me. And you need to have a good brainstorming session, like usage of visual aids, process map, fishbone diagram. You need to do a good brainstorm, and these two are the most important thumb rule in any investigation. The first is you should not criticize, and it's always about challenging the conventional thinking. In other words, we call challenging the status quo. So we never assume like, oh, that's how we always do it, problem never happened. But it didn't happen because we were lucky doesn't mean that it needs to be happen that way. So always challenge the status quo of why is it happen, is it all happen this way. And then the very final important thing is never do the blame game. It's always a process and a system mistake, not a person mistake. So honesty is the core of investigation. I can understand once we all frustrated, we can't close the document, our intuitive thinking will ask us to go into a blame sort of area, but we are not doing it. So this root cause investigation is not about the blame game. It's about finding the right problem to address the problem in a long sustained way. Also, remember to go and see the problem. It's really easy to collect all the facts, like all the qualitative analytical facts, sit in a room, do a brainstorm, and jump into a conclusion. Never do it. Go and see the spot. That gives you a completely a different sort. In Lean Six Sigma, they say the word called Gemba, which means walk. Always try to do a Gemba, a walking, when doing a root cause analysis. Remember that facts over opinion is always a must, and everything you do needs to be in ALCOA plus principle. Hang on a minute, what is ALCOA plus principle? So as I said, so GXP involves a practice called a good documentation practice. So a good documentation practice must need to be in ALCOA plus, and the ALCOA plus stands for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. So this ensures that data integrity and credibility in your investigation. So now let's move on to the methodology and tools of the rapid root cause investigation. This mirrors the DMAC approach, as I would say. So define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. But call it whatever way it is, it's not about the framework, it's about how we use it. So but I call it a 4S. In many places they call it 4S, whereas in that, so define and measure stage of the DMAC fits in the scope, and the analyze phase sits in the seek, and improve phase sits in the solve, and control is sustain, as all we know. So in this part of the video we see the scope and seek. In scope we try to describe the problem and specify the problem using is and is not. It is a very interesting thing. I'll tell you what is and is not is. It's a good way of raising a Q&A. And in the analyze phase we generate a list of possible causes, evaluate the possible causes versus the fact, using all the tools which we found. And then the next is the scope, where the in the define and measure phase is more about raising a good problem statement. Yeah. So in the initial questions we ask, what is the criticality of the issue? Do we need escalation? What is the extent of the boundary? In terms of boundary, does it affect the batches, equipments, systems, and sites? And what's the impact on the validation status of the process, or is there any compliance issue? So any environmental effect or health and safety concern. So you break down all this important question. And finally, something which needs to be seen is there any similar event reported before? Or so let's say in a very wider and big organization where they follow a similar process in different places, right? So is there any problem happened in other sites, whether the similar event has reported? So that question will help you to solve all these things. So, and what other immediate action needed. So you try to answer all these initial questions, so which gives you to form a problem statement, which is the wider way of writing the problem statement. Sometimes I call it SMART approach, where you write about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timeline. So it's about being very precise. It doesn't include any assumption, guesses, or emotional language. Do not mix cause and solution inside the problem statement. Keep it factual and focused. Finally, coming to what is and is not, it is a very specific and a critical way of finding the answer. So, is and is not is about asking questions like uh, where the actual thing is happen, where could not is not happen. So, to make it very simpler, it's about asking two questions like what has happened, what has not happened. It is about where has happened, where has it not happened, what is the extent, what is not the extent, and how it is discovered, how it is not discovered. So you can do like is not at any stage of the process. So to give you an example, let's say, so how is it discovered? It is discovered by the consumer. How is it not discovered? So it is not discovered by the quality checking. So what is missing? Is there a problem with the inspection team? So you tend to answer all the is and is not, which gives you a really good idea. To give you one more example, so when is it spotted, when it is not spotted? So it is spotted at the final stage of the production. When it is not spotted, so it needs to be spotted at the second stage of the production, but it has moved into the final stage of the production, which missed two important stages of not checking. So where does it happen? So this is a one important vital step that can be used to drill down the initial questions, which is a really important way of doing. So once it is done, the scope can be closed, the scope phase can be closed, and then we jump into the vital thing, which is seek, analyze. Seek and analyze is about using all the important tools to analyze. You can use the tools depending upon the extent and the scope, how much the root cause you know, how much the root cause you not know. So you use all these tools such as chronology, timeline, process flow, whereas in case of process flow we use SIPOC, process maps, and then we use 5 whys, 5 why 1 how, Ishikawa fishbone diagram, fault tree. So all these tools can be used depending upon the extent and scope. Let's say we got no idea of where it has happened, so let's start with the chronology timeline. So it is about understanding all the list key events in order. So it is about when did the process start, when did the first deviation occur, when did the production upscaled, when did the change actually happen, when was it first noted, when was it first reported. So it is about understanding all the things happen chronology, as in a timeline, and then from there we jump into the process flow, and which is the widely known process flow is SIPOC, where the supplier, input, process, output, and customers are all written to understand the wider aspect of the chronology. In many places, if the problem happens with the customer, they tend to reverse the flow by understanding customer, output, process, input, and supplier. And then to make it more and more drill down, we can use the process map, where I call it as is to should be. So so as is versus should be is about understanding how the actual process needs to be, instead how is it happen. And it is quite difficult to understand, because when you try to go and ask people how is it happen, the answers you get is more or less the same way which is in the SOP. People will actually have the fear, the phobia of giving the right answer of what it has happened. So but I would say the chronology and process flow, especially SIPOC, will give you a good initial idea of where is it happen, at what stage it is happen. So drill down the further root cause. We jump into the Ishikawa fishbone diagram, which is the a very wide one. It is give you an idea. Ishikawa is the actual man who framed the fishbone diagram. It is called in a very different name. Some call it Ishikawa, some call it fishbone diagram, 5M, 6M. So the actual idea behind that is the actual root cause. Let's say here iron in the product, which is not supposed to be, is the problem, and then the other questions will be in form of the bones in the fish, and the root cause is the head of the fish, which resembles a fishbone diagram. But the main thing behind that is, what are all the 6 M's? Is it a man problem, a manpower, is it a method, a machine, a material, a measurement, environment? So if you see in man, let's say is where the SOP properly led, where the people properly trained. So it's about asking questions about the manpower. Is he an inexperienced analyst? So many questions on manpower. And then when it comes to method, which is more interesting, is there any a change in the method, or is there a mistake proofing happened, or is it allowed? I'll give you one good example which happened in my real life investigation. So a step in the process needs to follow A, B, and C, whereas many people think they can bring the final step C just by bypassing the B, not doing the B. They can do from A and then C. But the problem behind that is they didn't really understand the actual impact of B. Um, uh, it's all happens because the method has not been properly documented, and it has not been properly stated to the people, which actually brought a big problem. And then coming into mission, is it the correct usage of mission at the correct time, or is there a wear and tear which has not been properly commissioned? And then the fourth term is about material. Is there any foreign object, a change in raw material? So change in raw material happens due to supplier issues. So let's say you've been with a supplier for so long, and they're having problem at their end, so you go for a risk management approach of having a different supplier where the spec more or less matches the same, but it doesn't guarantee that it needs to be spot on. There might be a change in one tiny little particle which might bring a big change in the entire process. Or is there is a good handling practice followed? So these are the questions will give you answer for the material. And then which comes to measurement, like is it being properly calibrated, was there a big variability in the measurement, was it properly validated, has the data integrity been properly followed? Let's say the numeric system, some say with like an American numeric, some write it with the other form of numeric. So is there a standard documentation practice? And finally environment. For many seem like environment is not a big deal, but trust me, especially in GXP approach, environment does a big change. Such as humidity variation, is it a temperature controlled approach? So once you try to drill down this so many questions, you come to the final factor of what does it happen? Is it because of method, material? You arrive at 1M, and then once you get into 1M, to get into the final answer, it is very interesting, the actual root cause, which is the 5Y. So you ask questions to uncover why an event happened. Why is the man not properly trained? Why is he an inexperienced analyst? Why, if he is an inexperienced analyst, he is doing something which is very critical? Why he is allowed? So you try to drill down so many questions, which gives you answers on so many aspects. Is there a change needs to be happened in SOP, or is there a change needs to be happened in a policy level, or is that a change needs to be happened in the flow where the manager needs to pay more attention? So this why will help you to drill down to the actual problem. And then the final thing which helps to identify the combination of leading factor to create a one big failure. Let's say in simpler words, like how multiple small issues can combine to create a one big problem, is fault tree. So we tend to map up the problem with, oh, there's a fault happened, what it can lead to. So this fault happened, what it can lead to. So you try to drill down all the faults, which gives you what extent it can lead to the final root cause. So these are all the steps you try to do in the seek phase. And so now we are at the last slide of the session, so where we confirm the root cause, where we close the sort on the seek, and in the next stage we'll see the other sort of solve and sustain. But to confirm the root cause, always remember, this is a very important one: human error is not a cause, it's a symptom. So if a human made a mistake, ask why the system allowed it. Was that a poor training? Was that an interface confusing, a procedure unclear? I call it an iceberg. So on the top, all we see is a little human error, but deep down, is he fatigue? Is he like overworking? Is he not taking the proper training? Or why is the training poor? So it gives you like so many questions. Always remember, human error is not the cause, it is just a symptom. So once we identify the potential causes, we validate them using the contradiction matrix. So we can verify all the root causes with the tools which we shown before, but we need to validate, is it the right cause. So the one important technique, same like is and is not, it is something called contradiction. So you try to bring all the root causes and you try to make a matrix which gives you a contradiction. So you try to answer questions like, is it really contradicts the case, is it supporting the case, is it correlating, is it not correlating, and you try to strike down all the not so legible contradictions. You come to the final evidence based investigation, not the assumption driven. So always use the safest, surest, easiest, quickest and cheapest, because as I said before, anything for an organization is time consuming, money consuming, resource consuming, and more than that, it's a reputation which actually a business is driving. Always do remember, you work for organization, so the organization runs on profit and money based motive. So giving a right root cause will help you and the organization, right? So we have done the first part of the root cause. Just to give you a little summarize, always try to build a cross functional team, document using ALCOA, define the problem clearly, use is and is not, right? I hope you all enjoyed the video and you got a clear idea. So this is my first video. Apologize if I didn't really convey what you want. Try to comment down any questions you got, I'll try to answer. I also added the queries on the description, so just shoot me any questions you got. I'll try to reply as much as possible. So it's all free resource, and I'm ready to help as much as you want. In the part 2, we'll explore about the risk and impact assessment, kappa, effectiveness of verification, and how to ensure the long-term sustainability. So thank you for all your time. Thank you for this 20-25 minutes of your day. Thank you.